Today I'm going a little unscripted to share with you a really important story. When I was in college, I had a little bit of crush on a boy that worked at the college bookstore. Now, we had cell phones back in those days, but there was really no texting or anything else, and I wasn't quite a stalker, so I wouldn't follow him home, but I knew where he worked. So I would make excuses to have to go to the bookstore to see him. After a while, he finally would talk to me, and after a while, he finally asked me out on a date. And I am not going to lie, I fell head over heels in love with the bookstore boy, mighty quickly. We shared a common love for 80s music and enjoyed singing in the car. He also loved a good movie, which was way at the top of my list. After we dated for a while, the M word came out. Do you know what the M word is? The M word is marriage. Okay, so he said it first. I have a couple of rules when I'm dating. I don't say I love you first. I don't hold hands first. I don't kiss first. And I don't say the M word first. I'm happy to reciprocate, but I just wanted to make sure that I was never pushing any guy. I can kind of be pushy sometimes. I didn't want to push any guy into anything too fast. I wanted to make sure that our relationship was moving forward on the right terms. But he said the M word. And then something weird happened. He stopped calling me and wouldn't return my phone calls. And then it got all awkward and weird, and a couple of weeks went by. Now, in the middle of this time, my roommate went over to his house, knocked on the door, got something, saw another girl. But I was trying really hard not to blow this out of proportion, but just waited for when we could reconnect. We finally reconnected for the dreaded DTR, where he said to me something along these lines. I should have recorded it. If I had thought about sharing it later, 20 years, I could have gotten the details right. But this was the gist of it. The gist of it is he said, I want to tell you about this backpack. Okay? He said, I wanted to buy a brand new backpack. And so I was looking at all the different models that the bookstore had, and I was trying to decide what kind of pockets I wanted and where my music was going to go and where my books went and what I was going to do with my pens and my pencils. And I wanted to have the right kind of pockets in the right kind of places, and I needed a place for my laptop. And so I was kind of looking at all of these different things because I didn't want to have buyer's remorse. And he said, so I just don't want to make any mistakes, and I don't think that we're supposed to get married, and I don't want to have buyer's remorse. Now, at the time, I was crushed. I was also a little bit offended. Did you just compare me to a backpack? Did you just say buyer's remorse? But years later, the more that I think about this situation, he and I are both happily married. He actually did marry the girl that was at the house the one time that my roommate went over. There's no hard feelings because I'm now happily married, of course. But the more that I think about this experience with the bookstore boy, the more I realize he's right. And the more I realize that marriage is like a backpack. We have this list of things that we want. We have these traits that are really important to us. We have things we don't want to settle for, and we have things that are must-haves. We also have some things that are it'd be kind of nice if they liked this, or it'd be kind of nice if we both shared this trait. But when we think about comparing marriages to backpacks, it's really similar. We're looking for the kinds of features and benefits that are going to be the best for us. And we really don't want to have buyer's remorse. But at the end of the day, is there a perfect backpack? At the end of the day, did he ever find the thing that was absolutely right for him? Because unless you're designing your own custom backpack, there's going to be a pocket that's not quite where you want it to be, or a little sleeve that isn't as big or is too big for what you're looking for. And isn't that the same case with a marriage? Though there are many things that are really important to us that we would not settle for in a million years, there are some other things that we might have to look past that might not be completely perfect because no one is perfect. We are all imperfect human beings trying to figure out how to make a great life. Now, I'm grateful for the marriage that I have. I'm grateful that I acknowledge that sometimes my marriage is like a backpack. And though it may not be perfect and all the exact things that I wanted, the greatest part about it is he got a backpack too. And I'm not always perfect. And I don't always have the things in the right places. And sometimes I make a mistake and sometimes things aren't perfect. But at the end of the day, I can either complain about the backpack and wait for something 100% perfect, which will never come, or I can be every single day grateful for the backpack that I have, grateful for the husband I have, grateful for the traits that he brings into my life, grateful for the things that he does do that are way more useful than maybe even the bookstore boy. And as you consider the marriage that you currently have, I hope that you'll take some time to take stock of the things that are the most important to you, the traits that you love in your spouse, the reason why you married them in the first place, all of the things that are non-negotiables that are must-haves. and then maybe kind of let go of some of those things that you think are a smidge imperfect. And the more that we focus on the traits that do work, the greater that backpack and that marriage will work for us. I know this is a little bit different and off topic of what I've normally talk about, but as I thought about that backpack today, and even have one right here that may not be perfect for me, but might be perfect for you, that as you consider that you acknowledge that the more that you utilize it and make it work for you and not let it just sit somewhere else, the more that you'll find that it actually really is pretty great. So that's my little analogy on marriage being like a backpack. I'd love for you to share your thoughts. So if you have thoughts or comments about this story, about circumstances and ways that you have found it to look for the best in your marriage, I'd love for you to share them. Let's share the good stuff about things that are going on instead of always sharing all the flaws and the tiny imperfections when there can be so much good. Thank you so much for tuning in and listening today, and we wish you all the best as you make it happen in your marriage.